A couple weeks ago, I came across this photograph while walking through the art collection at my current university. I wasn't even searching for anything in specific until this one piece stood out to me. As you can see, it's a bit unsettling and almost paranormal. The figures are blurred and the setting feels a bit eerie. The photograph was an untitled black and white work by Ralph Eugene Meatyard, an American photographer born in Illinois in 1925. And what initially drew me into this piece was just the lack of color. Black and white photography kind of forces you to look deeper. You notice the subtle blur, the ghost like figures, the way people seem both present and disappearing at the same time. And after standing there for a few minutes, I read the museum label, and that's when I knew I really wanted to talk about this piece and how much it related to my fears today. The label explained that Meteor created this image to explore the relationship between people and objects in a rapidly changing world. That idea hit really close to home. Even decades ago, before smartphones, the internet, or artificial intelligence, people were already struggling with the speed of change. This leads me into what I really want to talk about today, and that is how this photograph connects to how fast our world is changing today, especially with technology and artificial intelligence. When I read that Meat Yard was inspired by how fast mankind was changing, I immediately started thinking about our world today. When most people talk about technology, we kind of focus on the positives. Understandably so, we've made huge advancements with new medicine that saves lives every single day, or even just the fact that we can text, call, or email someone instantly instead of waiting days for mail. And yeah, these things are amazing and are very beneficial to us. I'm not denying that at all, but that's not the part of the progress I want to focus on. What I'm really talking about is how fast we move on from things now and how quickly we become unsatisfied with what we've literally just received. A new iPhone comes out every year, literally every year, and every time it has to be better than the last one. Like faster, thinner, smarter, just overall better. Nothing is ever enough for very long. The moment we get something new, the next upgrade is already on the way. And now we're not just upgrading phones, we're upgrading intelligence. We're moving into AI, self driving cars. Like, are we hearing that? Machines that don't need humans behind the wheel. And that's where things, at least for me, start to feel quite uncomfortable because now technology isn't just helping us, it's starting to replace us. And that's what led me into researching how artificial intelligence is changing art. And honestly, it's crazy. Right now, AI is being used to help artists come up with ideas, create illustrations, and generate full digital artworks. Now, it's still early, and a lot of times the technology messes things up, like hands looking weird and faces being off. But even with its mistakes, AI has already reached a point where it can practically mimic human art. In 2022, an AI generated artwork titled Theatre d'Opera Special. I'm really butchering that, but it won first place at the Colorado State Fair. The artist, Jason M. Allen, created the piece using Midjourney, an artificial intelligence program that turns text prompts into images. Allen, the artist, the literal artist, even said, "Art is dead, dude," after his victory. And while he technically didn't break any rules by it being AI, many in the art community were furious. Some argued that it was just the next phase of art, but either way, the win sparked a big debate over what should actually count as art. Experts in the field also weighed in with their opinions. Dr. Mark Wright, director of the Foundation for Art and Creative Technology at Liverpool John Moores University, explained that while AI art has existed in some form for years, these newer, deeper learning systems represent a massive shift from what it was before. One expert even explained that years ago, you needed a whole team of artists working together to do something like this. Now, almost anyone can do it on their laptop. And I think this moment represents something much bigger than just an art competition. I think it honestly raises the question that if a machine can make art that literally wins competitions, what does that mean for human creativity? I mean, as an artist myself, just thinking about the beautiful techniques of art by human hand, like hyperrealism, a style that you kind of need a great level of detail and good knowledge of like anatomy and light and a pretty good understanding of painting techniques or oil painting, the medium that requires like layered glazing and long drying periods and very detailed brushwork. And one of my favorites, pointillism, a technique of painting in which you do like very small colored dots all together and it makes a bigger picture. And to know that we are now trying to create the same with just technology and making it digital breaks a part of my heart, and I could go on about that for hours. But anyway, after learning all of that, I started thinking about what this is doing to us mentally, not just to art, but to people. One study published on PubMed surveyed about 300 people about how they feel about AI dominated future, and the results were honestly shocking. 92.7% of the people surveyed said they felt anxiety about meaninglessness when thinking about a future run by AI. Even more than that, many participants reported experiencing what researchers described as ex- existential anxiety. Ex- Existential anxiety. I'm also butchering that, but it's basically a fear about your place in the world and fear about whether you'll still matter. The American Psychology Association actually has a term for it. Technostress is what it is. They define it as stress caused by constant exposure to technology like phones, social media, and the internet. Researchers from Sapienza University of Rome found that this kind of technostress leads to burnout, and burnout then leads to depression. So basically, the more overwhelmed people feel by technology, the more it slowly destroys our mental health. And then there's the fear that probably affects most of us, and that is losing our jobs. Multiple studies confirm that the rise of AI in the workplace is directly connected to job insecurity. AI can now do both repetitive work and complex tasks. That means both manual workers and people with actual advanced skills are all at risk. So people aren't just afraid of change anymore. We're afraid of being unnecessary. And this is exactly why Meatyard's photograph feels so powerful to me now. When I look back at Meatyard's photograph, the blurred figures no longer feel like simple aesthetic choices. They feel symbolic. The ghost-like bodies seem to represent people fading out, uncertain of their place in this rapidly shifting world, which is what I assume a lot of people feel today. Even though Meatyard lived decades before AI, he was already responding to a world that felt like it was moving too fast, a world where people were struggling to keep up with the change. And now here we are again, except this time the change feels even faster. Jobs are being automated, art is being created by machines, human creativity and labor is being questioned, identity is being questioned, our value as a human being is being questioned. And to me, Meatyard captured that uneasy feeling before we even had the words for it. This is why I think the photograph matters so much. It's not just a creepy image, it's not just an old black and white photo. It's a reflection of what it feels like to live in a world that won't slow down. And it makes me think a lot about my future. Like, what will the world look like to our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids? What will they fear? What will they value? And will they look back at our time now the way we look back at decades ago with disbelief at how unfamiliar everything once was? And maybe even not even believe some of this was real, like the artwork created decades ago. If they're so used to AI, like it changes a lot. Um, Meet Earth's photo feels like a reminder that progress doesn't wait for anyone. Society changes before we even get a chance to fully process the last change. And I don't know, maybe that's why his work lingers so much for me, because it doesn't just show ghostly figures, it shows us. Anyway, thank you for listening, and that is all.